Hi guys, and welcome back to another DrAce video, and today we're going to be playing MotoGP 21, San Marino GP up now for round 15 of this World Championship, and I cannot wait. So starting in pole position is Grant, Binder and Mino, Acosta, Massi and Yamanaka on the second row, Rodrigo, Antonelli, Toba, Suzuki, McPhee, Alcoba, Guevara, Garcia, Artigas, Sasaki, Foggia, Fernandez, Tatai, Fenate, Onchu, Salach, Fallon, Koffler, Nepa, Dupasquier, Faradis, Dihar, Yuki Kuni and Riccardo Rossi at the back of the grid. So we now look to the lights, waiting for the red lights to disappear, and we will go! Brilliant start from Grant, straight off the line there. Very positive start, but not positive seeing the rest of the riders dart on up the inside. Even Yamanaka's up into third or fourth place. Great job for him. Not seen him up there this season as we get a little bit closed in for turn 2. I do have a feeling that this could be a very difficult race for us. We could be bottled up by a couple of riders here, and we've just got to do what we can do. It's good to see Yamanaka up there, but I'm going to pass him and take his fourth position away from him already. So I know it was a good start for you, Sunbeam, but we are getting through. Mino to beat next as there's been a crash behind. Yamamasi is down! Kaita Toba is down as well. You have to believe that is Yamamasi's championship charge well and truly over, as that is another crash, another DNF for the Red Bull KTM rider. And of course, speaking of Red Bull KTM rider, we are going to go up at the inside of another Red Bull KTM. Thank you very much, bumping Pedro Acosta a little bit wide there. And now we're already onto the tail of Darren Binder. Pretty positive result from Grant so far, starting from pole position, dropped down a little bit, but is now on the mend and is fighting back very, very promptly. So of course 12 laps here in the Misano Grand Prix for the San Marino GP, a brilliant, brilliant venue as Pedro Acosta lining me up for a move into Cavone. He's already through, never mind getting into Cavone, he already used the power, already used the speed of the KTM to get on through the Husqvarna. Now onto the right hand side for turn 13 where we met our demise in qualifying just earlier on, as we'll have a little bit of a lunge up on the inside of Pedro Acosta, picking him up and forcing him right. A classic block pass into Caro. Now onto the left hand side for turn 15, Darren Binder's getting away with it a little bit, only by 0.5 of a second, so we can still close him down. I'm not too concerned as we go into Misano for the very first time of asking. Across the line we will go in a moment's time, as Pedro Acosta got an extra gear there or something, as he gives us a little bit of a shove going into turn 1. He's going to go on the inside, or potentially, it didn't get quite close enough. Pedro definitely thought about it, but he wasn't close enough. Now onto the right hand side for the Variante del Parco. Closing in on Darren Binder, not quick enough for my liking. He does look like he's getting away with it a little bit. Going into Rio for turn 4. A little bit wide, but you can kiss the rumble strip there, that's quite okay. Going into turn 5, then to flick it left to turn 6. We are now right on the rear of the South African. Utilising his slipstream would have been a better idea, but it's okay, we're still going for that different sort of line. Turn 7, that little kink has been navigated to perfection. Turn 8 for Quercia, closing in on Binder. Going to get closer and closer to him. Potential block pass coming in for turn 9 in a moment. It's going to be difficult, but I don't think it's going to be possible. Potentially for turn 10 for Tremonto. I'm not sure we can actually make it work, but turn 10 navigated very well. Getting closer and closer to the South African, who's currently third place in this championship. And of course Grant, as you know, the World Championship leader, leading by 18 points over Gabriel Rodrigo. Not seen much of Gabriel Rodrigo in this one. The winner last time out in Aragon. He is currently in 6th place with Tatsuki Suzuki and Antonelli around him. Good job for Ryusuke Yamanaka, he's still hanging in there in 5th place as Grant will go for the lead. Beautifully done, another classic block pass going into turn 14. Excellent job from the World Championship leader as Darren Binder, who looks to be getting closer and closer. Just seen his helmet pop up there in the bottom side of the screen there, as we now go into the left hand side for Misano. Turn 16, navigated pretty well as we get onto the rumble strip. Be careful not to go too far into the rumble strip because you will touch the green, lose time and also inherit a track limit warning. Going into turn 1, Binder is going potentially for the inside line that we thought Pedro Acosta was going for, but he didn't quite make that lunge. I'm surprised because I honestly expected it to come. And I also expected this race to be a little bit more challenging and a little bit more bottled up. Right now, quite the opposite. And my predictions seem to be futile, because it looks like we are making quite the gaffe in the sense of a prediction, as we are now leading by half a second over Darren Binder. This is odd. This is very, very surprising for me, because I have prepared my voice for a long shouting session, screaming at the microphone as we've been doing all the way through Moto 3, but we're going to be screaming again, because we're going into wide into Quercia. We've completely messed that one, and now Darren Binder's going to be able to launch an assault on Grant, the World Championship leader. Acosta's not too far behind as well. Perhaps I spoke too soon as we're going into Tramonto in second place rather than leading. We're going to be using what we can to try and get in behind Darren Binder. Mino is now into third place. Correct me if I'm wrong. Pedro Acosta fought his way back and is now getting sandwiched. Look at Yamanaka! Yamanaka getting involved into the podium positions! Brilliant job from Yamanaka. I'm rooting for him. I don't care if we're fighting as Grant, but Yamanaka up into third place. Brilliant job from Yamanaka as we're going to get closer and closer. We might be able to get Avalanche over the inside. Yamanaka, a bit of contact there with Acosta. Yamanaka potentially up into second place now. Brilliant job from the car expert. Prustal Riders contacts made there from Grant. This is unknown territory for Yamanaka as he dives over the inside of Misano. Brilliant stuff. Yamanaka fighting with the best of them. This is how important a good, solid qualifying position is, and Yamanaka is demonstrating that here today as we go into the right-hand side for turn 1, now onto the left-hand side for turn 2. Oh, Yamanaka, you've been caught napping as he fights back into turn 3. Excellent stuff from the car expert Prustal Rider. Can't give him enough praise here. Brilliant from Yamanaka. As we go into turn 4, we might have dispatched of the Japanese rider, but God bless him, he has been brilliant so far. As we get right on the rear of Darren Binder, excellent exit into turn 6 there. Utilising the speed, or somewhat the speed we have in power setting 1, and closing in on the South African. Going into Quercia now for turn 8, onto the left-hand side for quite a while. Of course, the track doesn't really straighten up until the rumble strip has disappeared on the left-hand side there. We're now going straight for a very, very short amount of time as we enter turn 9 on the right-hand side of the tyre, and turn 10 also for Tramonto. Getting a little bit too tight there. It lifted the bike up a little bit too quickly there and accelerated just that too much. There we touch the rumble strip on the outside. So I guess now it's back to where we were at the start of this Grand Prix, chasing down Darren Binder after a little bit of excitement behind from... Oh, and Yamanaka's no longer on the podium. Pedro Acosta got ahead of him again. Hopefully Yamanaka can fight his way through and beat Pedro Acosta for that third spot of the rostrum. Now onto the right-hand side for turn 14. We have closed in again Darren Binder again. And you know what? I feel very, very quick here in Misano. I think we can dispatch a Darren Binder pretty quickly and begin to start churning out the fast lap times. And that is a little bit of the unknown here in Moto 3. We've only done it in Argentina, so it's very, very odd to be doing it here, especially with power setting 1. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves. We did set the fast lap of the race with the 1:44.494, but there's still a long time to go. We're not even halfway race distance yet, and anything could happen. Now getting closer and closer to Darren Binder. Is he going to succumb to my challenge? Going into turn 4 of Rio. Classic block pass if necessary, but we didn't need it. Went straight up at the inside, and now the onslaught of laps should commence. Let's see if we can do it. Going out into turn 6, a little bit wide, but onto the rumble strip quite alright. 0.3 of a second ahead of Darren Binder. Honestly, this is really surprising. Did not expect to be in the lead so early on. As long as we don't make a mistake, things should be okay. So into turn 8 for Quercia. Navigated pretty well. Still utilising power setting 1 if you haven't noticed. Of course, there has been no changes. Power setting 1 is permanently on pretty much in Moto 3 for us. As we go into Tramonto for turn 10. This is going to be a rather large telling point now. If we can get underneath the Red Bull sign without him getting into the slipstream, we could very, very well maintain the 0.3 of a gap going into Cavone. And you know what? We have indeed. Darren Binder is still not closed in on us as we are going into turn 12 and then turn 13 respectively, and then of course turn 14 on the right hand side of the tyre, without any influence or any pressure cementing from Darren Binder. This is a little bit strange, I'm not going to lie, because I expected this to be a very, very difficult race. I'd poised myself for potential carnage or just an absolute difficult race for us. It definitely looked that way going into turn 1 at the very start of the race, as we got absolutely swamped But we have fought back tremendously, and we are now leading by half a second over Darren Binder. I think this next lap will be the biggest telling point. We need to chuck in a very, very fast lap time here to really understand the pace of the other riders right now. 0.4 of a second separates Darren Binder. It's now gone up to 0.6 of a second. You see the difference in those really tight corners where we are able to use the brakes in a bit of a stop and go sort of corner, such as Rio. It's not too bad. You'd have to drop a lot of speed and then potentially bring on the speed going into turn 6 as well, so doing the same thing here. But we are now over a second lead to Darren Binder. This could be it, ladies and gentlemen. We may have actually broken the toe of Darren Binder, and we may be able to lead this race pretty comfortably. Now, we have utilised a lot of tyre, and it's quite a bit of tyre there, considering we are on the medium tyres. I mentioned in the qualifying session just earlier on at 4 PM that I was going to consider utilising the hard option rear, but I still didn't go for it. I went for the medium front and the medium rear. I felt that would be the best combination for us here, and so far it looks to be pretty good. As we go into Cavone for turn 11, up by, well, at least we were down by 61 thousandths of a second to our previous lap time, but that doesn't really matter right now. The only thing we're looking at is consistent pace, and those two lap times have been pretty consistent. A 1:44.4 and a 1:44.8 in the last two laps, and this could be very, very similar. This could potentially be another 1:44.4, and if we can maintain around the 1:44 to 1:45s, I think we're going to be unbeatable. I think we got away with a track limit warning there as we just touched the green, and now across the line we go. It's a 1:44.581, so as mentioned earlier, very, very close into our 1:44.494 lap times. And I tell you what, that's a lot of 1:44s in one sentence that I've said in a few minutes of worth of just talking about the 1:44s. So things still are as they stand, 1 second ahead of Darren Binder in second place. Pedro Acosta, I think he's roughly around where Binder is. And Yamanaka holding on to fourth place. A great job from him. The competitive nature in me is saying that I would like Pedro Acosta to get ahead of Darren Binder, so then of course the championship standing to look like a little bit more sweeter. But ultimately I want Ryusuke Yamanaka to get onto the podium. That would be awesome. I think he really deserves jumping on that podium, especially after racing so long in this Grand Prix in fourth place. He's even holding the likes of Andrea Migno, Tatsuki Suzuki and Gabriel Rodrigo at bay. Major props. Major props for the Japanese rider. Great job. This might be virtual, but God, how brilliant that. I love an underdog fighting back and showing how much he can do. Fingers crossed I don't jinx a poor lad. Fingers crossed. As we now go into Cavone. It's one of my favourite corners to pronounce, that one, Cavone. It just sounds so gorgeous. And I tell you what, this is a Moto3 race that I'm not going to have much to commentate about. This is a strange... There you go, something to commentate about. Pedro Acosta just went up the inside of Darren Binder. So Pedro Acosta is now into second place. Brilliant stuff for the championship results so far. What a way to bounce back again after the third place in Aragon. What a way to keep the momentum going would be to take a victory here in Misano as we exit Misano and get our first track limits warning there on the exit of Misano for turn 16 as we now go into the 1:44.7s. So again, very consistent lap times, exactly what we're looking for and exactly what we need to do to win this Grand Prix. So very much a thinkers, riders game right now. We need to just continue to focus because of course in racing in general, but more so in Moto 3, MotoGP, one mistake could mean everything. So we could make one single mistake here and we might not even feature on the podium or might not even feature in the top 10 if things go really wrong. So let's see how we get on for the next couple of laps. Of course there is only 5 laps remaining as we go into Quirch for turn 8. Sticking out the left foot, that Dainese boot touching the ground ever so briefly. And Pedro Acosta in second place by 1.8 seconds behind. So we would have to have a real catastrophe with those tyres. But I am looking at the tyres, especially the right-hand side of both the medium front and medium rear. Not looking too grand, really, are they? They could do with a little bit more extra rubber to last the rest of this Grand Prix, especially into the likes of the corners such as Caro. Difficult corner, turn 1. They're going to be corners where we need a lot of grip, and currently as they stand, might not be sufficient to merely... We've already lost 0.3 of a second to Pedro Acosta. Ladies and gentlemen, this might not be over just yet. We might be in a bit of a late sort of battle if Pedro Acosta can really chuck in those lap times. Now, as far as the lap times go, I've only dropped a tenth compared to the previous lap. But Pedro Acosta might be going that little bit extra quicker. So across the line we'll go in a moment's time. We'll have a look at Pedro Acosta's time, or at least hopefully we'll see if he is the fastest man on track, we'll be able to see it. And so far, nothing. He's 1.2 seconds behind. So again for us, we can't rest on our laurels. This is simply going to be focus and give it 110%. 120% because that's the AI's difficulty right now. So give it 120%. And a little bit of disappointment for you guys. Ryusa Yamanaka is now in 5th place. He got beaten by Andrea Mino. So unfortunately, Mino didn't just only have Grant's number, he has Yamanaka's number in this Misano Grand Prix as well. Probably a disappointing result for Andrea Mino. I expected him to be battling out at the front. Well, I expected everyone to be battling out at the front as this gap now reaches 2 seconds for the very first time. It looks like Grant has responded, up by 0.2 of a second going into Quercia, but only roughly 26 thousandths of a second down coming out of Quercia. So turn 9, turn 10 where we are now, a little bit concerned, I'm not going to lie to you, because those tyres aren't looking too grand, and that's the side of the tyre that we need to be careful on. Not much life left into them, degraded quite a lot, so let's see if we can still keep going, but hopefully we can just hold on to the end. I'm a little bit concerned with Pedro Acosta's time fluctuating behind. It goes from like 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds to 1 second to 1.2, and just continues to go up and down. A little bit turbulent right now as things are progressing for this Grand Prix. There's roughly around 3 laps to go, 3 and a little bit if you will, as we'll now go into turn 15, turn 16 to be navigated in a moment's time, and then it will be 3 laps remaining. So if you haven't subscribed already, now's a great time to do so, as we're about to chuck in another consistent lap time with a 1:44.6 or 7 across the line we go. It's a 1:44.6. So those last lap times have been very, very impressive. From a 1:44.4 set earlier on to a 1:44.8, 5, 7, 7 and a 1:44.6. Very consistent pace, and that is what's going to win races. And it's surprising to be doing this in Moto 3, I'll be completely honest with you. I'm not used to this, especially not this season. This season has been hectic, it's been chaos and extremely exciting. So this is a bit of a shift in pace, let's be honest, as we get our second track limit warning of the Grand Prix. You have to be careful not to do that for the rest of this race, because I do not fancy taking a long lap penalty here, because it looks like you're going to lose a bit of time. It's just on the entry and going into turn 9 and then on the exit of turn 10 for Tramonto. I don't fancy a long lap penalty. We've had too many this season, and I certainly don't fancy adding to the total right here today. So on the right hand side for Tramonto, we'll be navigating there 2 more times as we are comfortably leading by 2 seconds. I think if there was going to be a late charge, Acosta and Binder would have already made that move right now. I think at this stage of the race it's pretty much over and done, and considering how good our lap times have been, how consistent we've been, I don't think anyone's going to touch our pace right now. I don't think anyone's going to be able to show us a wheel. This has been a very, very odd Moto 3 race, but this has been probably the race you're going to look back on towards the end of the season and say, you know what, this is where the championship was really made. Just doing everything. And you know what, I should probably shut up, because we've lost 5 tenths of a second here to Pedro Acosta, and we're on a rather slow lap. I might need to reel it in a little bit here, because on the penultimate lap, 5 tenths of a second has gone to the way of Pedro Acosta. We need to watch this battle now. Is Pedro Acosta going to completely mess up exactly everything I've just said just in a moment ago, or is Grant going to respond? 1 or 2 things are going to happen here. We respond, or we don't, or we crash because we're pushing too hard. We need to stay within ourselves right now. We have the championship lead. If Pedro Acosta is somehow going to chase us down by 1.7 seconds, then so be it. We need to focus on the main prize, and that is the championship. That's the goal. That's the gold of the season, if you will. And we don't want to be throwing it away here just because of ego trying to get away from Pedro Acosta. But ultimately, we do really want the win, because those 25 points are a massive amount, and it's a huge blow to the other riders such as Darren Binder and Gabriel Rodrigo. And actually, looking on the left-hand side of my screen, I can't see Gabriel Rodrigo. Of course, Gabriel Rodrigo currently is in 2nd place in the World Championship, but that might have gone now, and Darren Binder might be picking up the pieces and putting himself into 2nd place. And it looks pretty good for Grant. He is sitting pretty at the top of the pile and has been doing since Qatar, quite honest with you. He has been really confident as we go a little bit overconfident going into turn 13. A little bit too much going into the turn 13, the penultimate lap into Caro for turn 14. A little bit wide, touching the rumble strip. The gap is down to 1 point. It's less than a second. Can you believe it? It's less than 9/10 of a second. Pedro Acosta and Binder are on the charge. They could very well be competing with Grant if we're not careful. If we make one more mistake like we just did then, they're going to be with us. We need to have a great lap. That's another really slow lap from Grant. He has fallen off a cliff from his lap times, 1 second slower than the previous couple of lap times. We have to give it everything. We have to go for it now. This is getting a bit tense. Will Grant respond? Will Acosta fight back? Who's going to be the victor here in Misano for the San Marino GP? I want to say it's Grant. If you're Spanish, you might be saying you want Pedro Acosta to win. Who knows? As we go into the left-hand side of the tyre now for turn 6. Brilliant exit there coming out there, giving it 110%. Absolutely charging now to underneath the Tissot sign. And we'll be braking into turn 8 in just a moment. Braking nice and early, not really rushing it, just gently bring it in. Still be a little bit concerned on the tyres now, but we have a little bit of life. But I imagine Acosta and Binders, Grant has a cheeky look behind him to see what's happening behind. I don't think that was the right decision. We lost a little bit of drive. Going into Tramonto now for the very final time of asking. 6 turns remaining for Grant and 25 championship points. Acosta still stays in second place with Binder in third. Mino, Suzuki and Yamanaka demoted down to 6th place, so he's pretty much where he started. Still a great result for the Japanese rider. The gap is 7/10 of a second. This is not over yet. If a mistake is made, there's quite a lot of ifs, but can Grant stay focused? 4/10 of a second now to Pedro Acosta. Look how ginger he is on the... Oh my goodness. So gentle on the right side of the tyre. 3/10 of a second to Pedro Acosta. 2/10 of a second to Pedro Acosta. Is Grant going to hold on? Going into turn 16 of Misano. Has he butchered it? He's done it all right. Can he get the speed coming into the final corner? Brilliantly done. Grant over the line. He wins the Misano GP. Look how much it means to him. Brilliant result here for Grant. Up by 3/10 of a second to Pedro Acosta and Darren Binder, and wins in somewhat dominating fashion to the very death when the tyres had well and truly given up on him. Brilliant performance. Crucial win for the championship. So taking a look at the championship standings, Grant improves his championship lead to 33 points over Darren Binder, who moved ahead of Gabriel Rodrigo. Jaume Masia drops a point to Andrea Mino, who's now into 5th place and still could potentially get involved in the championship battle. Pedro Acosta with 45 points behind, not that far away. So now looking at the team championship, Petronas Sprinter Racing still leading by quite a lot. 8 points ahead of Red Bull KTM, but it is literally only those two teams who can go down to the wire and potentially win the team championship. Celebrations, confetti, prosecco and a lot of applause for Grant as he dominates here in Misano. Brilliant result, and what a way to hold his head up high and keep the composure going even under thorough pressure towards the end. So guys, as always, thank you very much for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, like, comment and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to be alerted to every single DrAce upload. And upon that note guys, thanks for watching and ciao for now. Oh hi, didn't quite see you there. Good to see you're still here. If this video didn't quite sate your appetite, then why not watch some more DrAce content by clicking the video shown on screen now. Furthermore, if you would like to follow me on social media, you can do so now with the links down in the description. Consider subscribing so you don't miss a single DrAce video.